Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are joined by a very special guest today, a Mr. Ezra Payne, who has written Blood Reign. And if you have not picked this up or read it yet, do so now. But we're here with Ezra. Hello, Ezra.
Hi, nice to see you,
How
Katie.
how are you?
I'm doing well. Back to work tomorrow, but it's been nice having a week off just after the book launch.
Yeah,
Doing well.
it must have been quite a hectic book launch, I'd imagine.
It was a lot. Obviously, never done this before, but it was nice being supported by so many friends and family. It was good. A lot of people positive about the experience, and a lot of people have already read it as well, saying they enjoyed the book. So yeah, no, it was good. I enjoyed it.
That's good. Did you have to travel much when you were on your book tour?
No, not too much. So, through indie book tours on Instagram, we've been doing the virtual book tour, and also when it came to launch day, I booked a place in Liverpool, which is not too far from where I am.
Okay.
And we had an actual physical launch with like physical copies that I got to sign. Everyone was very happy about their signed copies. It's a bit strange, people asking you to mark the books. It's like I didn't think it was that impressive, but here we are. But no, it was really good. I enjoyed it.
Oh, that's good. I'm gonna just go through a couple of the comments just because there's quite a few people here that want to say hello. Um,
Okay.
they'll just pop up on the screen. So we've got Lisa from Indie Book Tours here with us.
Hi.
Um, Danny's here. My other half is here, showing support,
Nice.
and so is his mom. um, Danny says she's loving the book so far, and the illustrations are just heart eyes. That was I actually want to talk about is the illustrations
Hmm.
because they're absolutely amazing. Um, Harriet loved your book. Danny said due to personal reasons she has managed to finish it yet. That's okay, Danny. I am not 100% finished yet either, so it's fine. Bo says afternoon, evening, everyone. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. They definitely lured me in. Yeah, Daniel's been talking about the illustrations.
The illustrations are actually from an artist who's called Mira Sand,
Oh,
and I actually got in touch with her because she had some stuff on ArtStation, which is where I actually found her. And she used to do World of Warcraft illustrations for just commissions. And I used to play back in 2012 before I had to stop because it was dominating my life. And
oh,
the
survivor. I understand.
recovering WoW addicts here, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, she did really good work, and I was like, oh, can you do some character concepts? Because the character, the face of the novel, Noxalis, was originally partially a World of Warcraft character.
Okay.
And she did a really good illustration. I was like, oh, can you do a few more? And then I was like, can you do the book cover? And then because of my I do love some visual arts. If on Instagram, on my personal accounts, the only thing I really follow are artists who do like
Okay.
digital or traditional art, and I wanted some in the book, and obviously everyone else seems to like this, so it was worth it at least.
Yeah. Oh, it was definitely a good choice. 100%. Um, just a few more comments. Danny's saying that Daniel needs to give it a go. Um, I love that this book is full of badass
Oh,
females. Danny, we were talking about that earlier on. It's really
yeah.
nice to have that in a fantasy novel, though, because a lot of the time it's male dominated.
Hmm.
So it's really good to have badass, like, women characters.
It's striking the balance as well, because especially in TV at the moment, you can get these women who seem to be a little bit too powerful, and they're never
Mhm.
challenged essentially. But I think because of my upbringing, I was kind of raised alongside women, so they've had a much stronger I don't know, like a presence in my life, should we say? So, like
Yeah,
a mother, as a sister who's just a few years older. My friend in primary school, best friend in primary school, was a girl. Friends in high school were girls. It's
yeah,
just like, so you kind of just, I don't know, maybe that impression has probably warped my writing to that point. But I do enjoy it. I think it's pretty good. But you also need to do it justice. You can't just have it. Yeah, I'm not really one for um the damsel in distress sort of setup, like woe is me, and yeah, you do like a one with a sword who can actually turn off the fights.
yeah.
But
Because
yeah,
I think
it's good.
women in fantasy generally are portrayed as damsel in distress types. And I think for being a female reader of high fantasy, it does get a little bit strenuous and like annoying sometimes when all the main characters are male.
Yeah.
Like, but what about us? You know? Don't get me wrong, I probably can't pick up a sword and like do anything with it because it'll probably be too heavy. But I know there's other people out there that would definitely be able to do that.
Yeah.
So it is really nice to have representation in that way for us girlies, that we can be badass and we can go out and fight our own wars with swords. So thank you for giving us that.
It's a nice fantasy to have, isn't it? Definitely.
It definitely is. And it's just nice to feel included, because sometimes it doesn't always feel like you're included in fantasy type stories that you're reading. So it is really nice. So thank you so much for bringing that to life.
Thank you.
Lisa says that she agrees with Danny. The world building just grips you from the start. 100%. We were talking about this before we went live. Like, I am not someone that enjoys reading books that is quite war heavy, but I am loving this because of the pace. Just because, like I was saying to you earlier on, the pace of the novel is just
neck, isn't it? It doesn't really slow down. I think it's the make or break for some people. I tend to, when it comes to stories, especially reading, I do like to be told the story because it's the plot that I enjoy. It's the characters as well, but if you can weave them in together quite well, you can advance the plot and the character development at the same time. Hopefully, I've achieved this here. Everyone seems to enjoy it, so yeah, at least I get some validation there. But yeah, it's I didn't want a story that you kind of had to slog through or just get through massive swaths of lore dumps essentially. So it does move along at quite a pace. But yeah, to its credit and detriment, depending on who you speak to.
Yeah, well, it's definitely credit on my side, I can say that. And from the people in the comments who have read the book or who are reading the book, it seems to be that way. So that's good. That is really good. We do have a couple of questions that we're going to go through, which I'm so excited about because we both know what the questions are. Nobody else does. So we're going to start going through that. And then afterwards, depending sort of what time and things it is, if anybody else has got questions for Ezra that they would like to pop up, then Ezra has said that he's quite happy to answer some questions. So we'll just go through these. I had so much fun with these questions, like coming up with them, like so much fun. But we're going to go for the first question. So what was your writing process and how did you come up with the characters?
So the process to start off with before I actually decided to write the novel was just to amass a load of notes in my phone as and when you wanted to write. But that obviously needed to have a bit more focus when I got to the point where I'm going to have to write this novel, the first draft of it, essentially. So I write during what I call dead time. These are like the times where you're not really supposed to do anything productive, like journeys to work, so to speak. So on the bus, rather than watching YouTube videos or playing games on your phone, I'd be like, oh, I'll just write part of this chapter. You might not even finish it, but at least you've like made a headway on whatever you're writing. So that could be like a good, I don't know, between 30 to 60 minutes a day.
Okay.
Just doing that. And also I have a dedicated amount of time writing on Sundays. Usually because I had like a notes page, I only later got Scrivener, and I usually just wrote all the notes on the phone, and then on the Sundays I'd just dump all the stuff into whatever order it was supposed to be in and just sharpen it from there. It was there is an order to the chaos, trust me. But yeah, it was usually just scheduling time, evenings and some parts of the weekend, just to get the writing done.
Did you sleep less?
I'm going to say no, but there have been moments where, when there's like a plot hole that you kind of need to fix, and it comes to you at like, I don't know, 12 o'clock at night. And you're just like, oh, I'm going to have to get my phone out and just type out as much as possible so it doesn't like erode from my mind. And even if it was bad and I needed to scrap it later or just amend it, it did disturb my sleep sometimes. But I think that's probably why I finished it, to be honest, because it was literally disturbing me. Even in work, I was just like, the storm of ideas just did not stop. But yeah.
Well, that must be so exciting, though, like for your brain to be so full of this world and the characters. And having to go to a 9 to 5 job and be like, oh, I need to focus on this when really I want to be in this world. I don't really want to be in this world right now. It must be such a conflict.
It was, to be honest, but that's basically why I wrote it, because I was sat at work thinking about this novel. I was like, I'm going to have to write this down because I actually can't think about my own job.
Yeah.
Just get it out of my head and just onto a page so I can actually free up some space. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's glad it's finished.
Yes.
But on to the next one, definitely.
Oh, 100%. Because I'm excited for the next one. Do you have a time scale for the next one?
I would like to release it early 2026. I'm not the fastest of writers, obviously, with a 9 to 5 job and other commitments,
Yeah.
be it social or I don't know. Otherwise, you don't have all the time, but I do need to get the illustrations lined up as well. You have the copy editing process. It's not a fast
Yeah.
process. You get at the first draft, I'll tell you this, the first draft of the second novel is already done. So A to B, I already know what happens. But
Okay.
it's getting the second draft sharpened up, sent to people, tell me what's wrong with it, essentially. And then you get it to the copy editor who sharpens up the text again. Yeah, it's going to be a long process, but yeah, early 2026, we hope, but we'll see what happens. Maybe earlier, maybe a little bit later.
Okay. Were you quite protective of it when you were sending it to people? Because you were just saying that you would send it to people for them to basically tell you what was wrong with it. Were you quite protective of it like it was your child? Like, please don't hate it. Please don't take away a bit that I love.
Not necessarily, to be honest. I think maybe I'm tend to be a little bit too much of a perfectionist in some areas, but I also do enjoy feedback. So if someone tells me, "Yeah, it's great," there's a little voice in my mind that goes, "Yeah, but what was wrong with it?" It's like, are they just trying to placate me and say it's completely fine? So it's the feedback that's a bit more objective that I do kind of take on board, like just to because I'm very new to the process. I'm not like a veteran writer. Most of my storytelling was inhaled from films and games, essentially, like single player, like story driven games. I enjoyed, which is probably what drove me to write this novel in the first place. But yeah, so I'm by no means an expert of the craft, but you can only get that with experience, which is, you just got to jump into the deep end sometimes.
Yeah. Cool. Why did you decide to choose a fantasy novel as opposed to any other kind of genre?
It's the genre that appeals to me the most. When I was a young boy in school and I was introduced to mythology in year 4, something like that, I fed from it. It was just one of my favorite subjects that ever, like, learning about all the Egyptian gods and what they worship, the Greek mythologies. It's just like all these different cultures with their different ideas. I thought it was amazing. And coming from a religious background as well, we do have the mystical element of, like, the gods and the miracles, etc. And from that, I just wanted to write my own stories, essentially, or just all these other characters. Creative writing. I didn't realize this at the time, but it was one of my favorite subjects. It just wasn't really explored.
Yeah.
But the other genres, I don't mind a bit of sci-fi. Maybe down the line, I'll write something into that genre. But yeah, you've got to write what you know or write what you love, I think. One of those two.
Yeah.
But you won't get a romance novel from me anytime soon. I'll tell you that
No.
for free.
Oh, I would like to see some romance with some of the characters. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, you might get smackings of it. I don't think I could, drive a plot with that one thread attached to it. Just like, oh, this is a romance novel. Yeah, there's notes of it, but yeah, I can't drive it in too deep.
You never know. Someone might write fan fiction.
They're welcome to. I'll probably read it, but see what
Never
happens with
know.
that.
Stranger things have happened. There's a lot of fanfic out there, so someone out there might think, "Do you know what? I'm gonna make that happen."
I'd definitely read it. I just want to see what people put together, who which characters, etc. But no, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, it would be it would be so interesting. What authors do you look for when it comes to your inspiration, if any?
So as I said before, like, my love of reading was pretty much killed off. My religious background actually had me reading the Bible, which is a dense book to read, to be honest. And between that and high school, where you just studied books, objectively good books like Of Mice and Men, to death, to the point where you actually hated them because you had to analyze every piece of it. It was like, what did the writer mean by this? It just killed off my love of reading for the longest time. A lot of it was religious studies as well. So, as I say, most of my storytelling was given to me from films and series and games. other different pieces. But what I will tell you, it's not the answer you've asked for, but it's the answer I've got. Quentin Tarantino's dialogue in his films, I
Okay.
absolutely love that. He'll take the most dull of the scenes, like people talking about tipping waitresses in a restaurant, and he'll make a masterpiece of dialogue. And I
Yeah.
enjoyed that so much. I enjoyed the way he does that. Terry Pratchett, I have recently started reading his books. I do like the humor in it. I don't think I'm particularly a humorous writer, but I do enjoy the way he puts whimsical thoughts in his writing as well. But my reading journey is still very early on, so you could probably recommend to me after you finished the novel what other authors you'd recommend to look at.
I can definitely do that for you once I'm finished.
I look forward to that.
Yes, 100%. I can do that. Gonna read some comments just now. Everything is just so well balanced. The pacing is great. Definitely struck up a lovely balance between world building and character development. Danny says, sounds like we had a very similar religious upbringing.
Oh, we'll have to talk about that later then, definitely.
When you're writing, do you listen to music? Do you have TV in the background? Do you have to do it in silence? Like, what's your process?
So when it comes to music, I prefer music without lyrics. I can't really write much when someone's expressing their undying love for, X a person in the background. So usually it'll just be like classical or orchestral music, a bit of cello, or even just electronic music, just anything with like a decent bass, some background music to keep your mind going and keep you from your own thoughts tearing you apart whilst you're sat in silence. I can't sit in silence. It doesn't work. I've tried it.
I think some people do. That's the only thing that it works for them. So I was just curious to see, because everybody's obviously got a different process. So it's good to know. Where did you get the inspiration for the names of your characters in the book? And can we have some pronunciations, please? For me mainly, but maybe others too.
So Noxalis was an endeavor, as I say, I used to be a World of Warcraft player. And Noxalis was a name that I made up in an endeavor to create a unique name for the character, because obviously you put in the name World of Warcraft, it's like, you can't pick that one, someone's already taken it, so you have to get something else. And that was where that came from. Spade, not necessarily, I can't tell you if this was why I picked it, but there's a game called F-Zero GX from the GameCube, made in like 2003. And one of the characters there, completely different to the Spade in this book, does have that name. She's even got backstory as to why in this particular novel, but that's probably where that name came from. Ayla, I thought that was unique until I remembered that there's a character in Skyrim called Ayla who works as one of the huntresses. Yeah, it's like, all right, fair enough. You shared it. It's and I think Akuma. I think that was actually, I think it's Japanese for demon, which is quite interesting. So just at random places like this, you just kind of forge the name. Sometimes you would just rack your brains like, what's unique, what just easy to pronounce. You would kind of like think about what names would fit the character, would fit the dynamics of their world building. But it's from different places. It's wild.
Spade is one of my favorite characters, by the way.
Yeah, I do quite like Spade, to be honest, as a character.
Yeah. Just, I won't say any more, but Spade is one of my favorites. These questions, these next ones, you obviously know what's coming, but these are probably some of the questions that you will probably never be asked. It's just my weird and whimsical brain that has come up with these questions, and I am asking because I'm curious. But which character would you most like to meet in real life if you could?
So I would probably meet Spade, to be honest. I think she'd be the most interesting character to meet, I don't know, even go for lunch with her and see what she says. But some of the characters I would probably like to watch, but necessarily meet. They're one of the first characters you meet, Sartreya or Sardesh, depending on where you are in the book. I'd like to watch her fight. I don't think I'd want to meet her. I think she's a little bit too terrifying. So yeah, it's an interesting one, actually. I think some of the characters would be like really interesting to speak to. Noxalis would be quite an interesting character, but Spade definitely. I would, I'd love to sit down and have a chat with her, see what her thoughts are on some things.
That would be cool. This is my favorite question that I'm going to ask next, because I'm just so intrigued to know what the answer is. So if you could have a theme tune for Blood Reign, what would it be?
You know, I'm glad you gave me this in advance because I wouldn't know until I thought about it. But one of the pieces, it's actually an orchestral piece that I did think of was Siege of Worlds by Russell Brower. It's the World of Warcraft Warlords of Draenor menu theme, essentially. And I can, in my mind, I don't know why, but when I listened to it, I could hit beat for beat every part of the story from different pieces. I don't know. Yeah, some of the chapters, I'll tell you this, some of the chapters have been written from songs almost.
Oh,
So, like, how they start, how they kind of rise up and how they finish. Yes, but A Siege of Worlds, the World of Warcraft, Worlds of Draenor theme is probably the theme that I'd give the novel. It's 12 minutes of orchestra and choir. It's pretty good. I enjoy that.
that's really interesting. That makes me want to ask another question that's totally off topic.
Go for it.
If they made a movie adaptation
Yeah.
of Blood Reign, who do you think they would cast as the
I'm
main?
pretty sure I've looked at this, to be honest, and I couldn't even remember the the characters or the actual actors that I'd use. Yeah, you caught me off guard with that one. I would honestly, if it was to be put into a book or a film or a series, I'd probably have it animated. Now,
Okay.
and probably because I do enjoy animation in the fact that you can do things you can't necessarily do in live action. So, for instance, you can change a scene entirely by changing the artist who's using it. So you can go from this nice, colorful palette to more aggressive, harsh lines, and just
Yeah.
completely changes the feel of the scene and the story. But yeah, it would definitely be an animation, either 2D or 3D. But the voice actors, yeah, give me a second on that one. I think
No problem.
to get the list of people up. But yeah, no, that would be cool. I mean, obviously, in the future, maybe 20 years from now, or if I come into a large sum of money from absolutely nowhere, maybe I'll make it happen. But yeah, one can dream.
That would be cool. I would love to see that animated. I think it would be brilliant. Lisa has said they're someone that they would watch from afar because she is scary. I
Yes.
wasn't even attempt to try and pronounce it. Did you see that there?
Sardash is definitely a character you wouldn't want to meet in person. I don't think she'd be necessarily evil, to be fair. I think she'd be at worst dismissive. I don't think she'd answer any question you posed to her unless it was in her interest to do so.
I just imagine her sitting at the end of a bar with a pint and like her
Yeah.
eyes down, like don't talk to me. I had a hard day, leave me alone. Like that's the image I get.
Yeah, she'd probably give you death stares from across the room if you tried to walk up to her. Yeah, one of those characters.
Like if someone spilt a drink on her.
I'd probably leave the bar.
Yeah. If you could battle any of the characters from the book, who do you think would be most likely to win against Skeletor?
For reasons that are actually in the book, if you've read the third chapter, I think there's only two people that I'd have battle against Skeletor. What is he? Some kind of necromancer or a dark wizard, isn't he? Yeah. So either Sardash or the Prime Lord Nedesh would turn up to that fight, I'd say.
Okay.
And I'll give you the the reasons are in the novel. You'll probably be able to figure it out. But
Okay.
those two. I don't think anyone else. Skeletor. Oof, yeah. Yeah, I'd like to respect the character of He-Man. I don't think anyone else would have much of a chance against him, to be fair.
Yeah. I just thought I would ask because. And the last question I've got is: if the main characters had normal jobs in society, what do you think they would do?
I had to think about this one. So Sardash, I reckon she'd either be a prison guard or a club bouncer. I feel like she's perfect for that role. Very intimidating. Could probably turn up to any disagreements and resolve them quite quickly and efficiently. I think I feel like Spade would probably be a chef, maybe a businesswoman or property manager. I'm not entirely sure yet, to be honest, but she does actually like cooking in the book. One of the other characters, Ayla, I feel like she'd go into biochemistry. Maybe she'd find her in the pharmacy or something like that.
Okay.
Noxalis, she was a difficult one. She's quite a caring character, so maybe just like in a, I don't know whether like if it was a really normal job, maybe just like a care home or a nursery. She feels like somebody to actually fit into that role.
Yeah.
Fireth, one of the other characters that you meet, across the novel. I feel like she's probably a library assistant, maybe like something like this, like a bookstagram person, or maybe just you'd find her behind the till in Waterstones. Feel like she's would be perfect for that role. That was that was an interesting question. I love that, to be honest, because taking a character from like a fantasy world and thinking, oh, what would she actually be in this position? I was just like, I have no idea. So it took me a while to get those, but yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed that question.
Because it's even just putting like Spade or something in an example, like working at Starbucks, like
Yeah.
could you like, but she does love cooking, so she's not gonna get that at Starbucks, so she would just be miserable all the time. So yeah, I just was fascinated to see where you thought that they could potentially be in normal society. It's just picking a character up and putting them somewhere else. I just find that really fascinating.
It would be wild. I feel like you could do that for other characters in other books and have incredible casts of people working in different positions.
Yeah. We're gonna go into the comments, but are you still okay to answer some questions?
Yeah, fine.
Got any? Right. So if anyone's got any questions, if you pop them in the comments. But Lisa's saying cast of Critical Role would be amazing as voice actors.
This would be the Vox Machina crew, isn't it? I've watched the series. It's like a Dungeons and Dragons series. I did enjoy it actually.
I've
I
not
feel like they
seen
probably do a decent job.
Oh, what was it called?
Vox Machina. Is it the Legends of Vox Machina? I think it was. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. It might be Amazon Prime that's on.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I do enjoy it. Like it's D&D, isn't it? So actually, it's just coming off the back of that Baldur's Gate. I do love the characters in that. They like Dungeons and Dragons. I don't actually play it, but because of the time. But I do love the whole world that they built over there with the lore and stuff like that. It's also found its way into Magic the Gathering. They had a set on it, didn't they? As a Magic player yourself, you'll do this. But yeah, I do enjoy a bit of Dungeons and Dragons lore and stories.
Okay. I'm going to have to check this out now. So that's probably what I'm going to do after this. I'm going to have to go look that up and then probably stay up all night and watch that. So your book might not be finished today. I'm sorry.
That's definitely legitimate. Yeah, it's worth it to finish that series. It's worth doing.
Okay. I will look into it. Lisa said that she loved the last question. Vox, is it Machina or Machina?
Vox Machina, yeah.
On Prime. Lisa's asking, do you have any other ideas for different series?
There are some ideas, shall we say, but of a series of this scale, I'm going to say at this point, no. There's like different ideas that I would float around this world. There's different ideas that you could float around with the worlds, so to speak, without actually having it in the same setting. You could have another series with another character in another universe, shall we say. I don't think I'd do like a cross universe. That's too messy. I can't do that. I'm not Marvel. But I definitely could do it. At the moment, I'm probably going to be closer to this story and just building on what we've got here. Maybe down the line, I'll start to think, all right, what else can we do? What other series? Maybe go into sci-fi or something like that. When you say series, I consider it like, several books. Now I could probably write a novel on one particular story in like maybe sci-fi or in a different universe, but a series, that's a lot of forethought and planning. So not yet, but we'll
what
see.
about novella?
Novellas, definitely. Novellas within this world, novellas within a different setting completely. I could probably do that, but yeah, it's be getting the time. I'm probably going to start inhaling a lot of writing time just to get some stuff done, because I do want to focus on that quite a lot. Maybe I'll have to neglect playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for a while, so I can get some ideas down.
Yeah. Danny's asking, will there be more illustrations in the second novel?
There will 100% be more illustrations in the second one. That's not something I'm going to be dropping. I think it's worth the expense. The artist that I've got currently does an amazing job with it. There will definitely be illustrations in the second book. I'm going to have, the idea is to have at least one per part, and then maybe some key art at the very end, just to kind of summarize the whole experience. But yeah, there will always be artwork in the novels that I create.
Amazing. I'm excited about that. Daniel's saying, hey Ezra, any tips on how you stay focused and keep up your momentum, and how do you overcome any doubts or confidence issues that may present themselves along the way?
To keep focused and keep my momentum, It's routine. I think that's probably the strongest word I can give to you at that point. You kind of set a schedule, maybe even put reminders on your phone. Maybe you put your phone on silent or do not disturb, so you can actually get some time to write. And however you focus, get yourself a drink or put some music on and just sit down and write. And if you can't do that, maybe not in massive segments, but just little and often. Just as I say, like on the bus, if you're doing like 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back, just writing and just amassing notes, you can get a good amount of work done there, and then set aside some time just to put them all together. Essentially, that's what the Sunday was for, as I said before.
Yeah.
Where you just get the time to just compile what you've actually put and set it out as orderly as you can. Also, I find there's pantsers, there's outliners. I'm definitely an outliner. If I know where my story's going, every piece from start to finish, I can see the lines a bit more clearly, what I need to do and how it needs to evolve. And once you've actually done that, you can see the holes in your story as well. Obviously, there will be some if you've just done your first draft.
Yeah.
And it's easier to kind of sort those out. And I find that if you keep going with your story, you get a bit of a passion for it. You want to finish it, you want to complete it essentially, and its own reward, I'd say. But the other question about overcoming doubts, I seem to have this voice in the back of my mind that kind of doubts everything that I do. Even when I was releasing this novel to the public for the first time, it's like, are they even going to like it? What if it gets reviewed badly? And one of the reasons I actually did this wasn't for sales or for reviews, it was for me. This is the novel that I wanted to do, and that's essentially the reason I view it as completed was when I actually got the hardback version of the novel with the ISBN number on the back. I was like, this is exactly why I did this. This is once
Yeah.
you've actually got the novels, like it was already done. Also, a peer review is also good. They can give you some feedback on what's wrong with it. You can kind of sharpen that up before you release it. But one of the things I did just before the novel was released, I just read it again. I still love this story. It's one of my favorite stories. Obviously, it's obviously near and dear to my heart, but it's just nice to actually see. I love how the characters evolve. I love the world it's set in. It's I feel like I don't want to say to you just like, oh, you should have more confidence in yourself, but just be comfortable with what you've created. I think and some people aren't going to like it. You cannot please everyone. Some
No.
people might absolutely hate it, and that's completely fine. There's some things that I don't like that everyone else seems to enjoy, like football. But here we are. But
There is us that like football. There is some of us.
yeah. But
Um,
just don't give yourself a bit more credit to like try not to get bogged down by other people's opinions, but also take on board. One of the things I did with the beta readers is if you get several beta readers and some people give you comments on one thing but that you thought was completely fine, but if several people give you a comment on one thing in particular, that definitely needs to change.
yeah.
I've noticed that it's peer review is kind of helpful just to iron out the kinks before you go into publish it.
Lisa's saying, how many books will be in this series?
The plan is for five mainline series.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I've got the A to B on books 1 to 5 already. The outline is done for the third, so I know where it's going, and it's not going to completely derail the novel. And it's quite fun. I think. Hopefully people like it. I'm going to try and do something a little bit different with every single one of them. So I don't want to like stay in the same place, if you know what I
Okay.
mean. So you will get returning characters and returning places, but they will all be a little bit different. I'll give you that. But yeah, 5 is the target. We'll see how far we get. But I do want to get this finished.
Okay. Well, that's very exciting. I thought it would maybe be a trilogy, but the
Yeah,
fact it's going to be 5.
it's to be when I actually set out to do this, I was like, people asked me, "Oh, how many books is it?" I said it was exactly 2. It was exactly 2, and to be honest, part of me still holds to this. But I realized by the end of the second book, there was a major event that hadn't happened yet. And I was like, well, we kind of need to put that into practice. So it was like I put that in, and then I realized there was another major event that we hadn't quite resolved yet. It's like, well, we kind of need to fix this, don't we? It's just like, and so it was just kind of evolved. But at this point, it's definitely going to be 5, where we hit the ceiling. We're going to have to stop there. But yeah, it's 5.
That is really exciting. I'm excited. a novella following Sadesh
Sardesh would be
would
very
be
interesting. It would. Would I be able to write that? I feel like it's. I would. I just. You'd have to give her a story. Yeah, it's a story and a plot line, isn't it? Yeah. One of my friends on the book launch just asked me, "He's like, oh, what would you how do you get the ideas for these stories, or when you've created a world, how do you do anything with the characters in them?" And he's just like, "Oh, you just give them a story." And right there and then I was like, "Oh, maybe you just you have a security guard. What's he guarding? And what does he think of the people he's guarding? What do the higher ups think of him? What does his peers think of him? Does something go wrong?" And it's quite. I feel like it's quite. You can quite easily build a story from just like a small piece and just spiral outwards, and you just kind of go outwards. So maybe I'll do that with Sardash at some point, and just give her another plot line within the Hateful Tales, the first part, which covers a lot of her life. So yeah, it's definitely doable. We could do.
Could we possibly have a novella with all of them in their normal jobs?
Just like some kind of isekai novel where it's just like, yeah, just and then Spade currently works in a chef's place, and then
Yeah.
yeah. Knox lives in a care home and they just meet randomly. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that'd be hilarious. I don't know whether I'd be able to take it seriously, but I feel like that's definitely possible. I'm not going to promise it to you, but maybe.
Okay. Well, I don't write fan fiction, but if I did, that's what I would do that on.
If you ever get the inclination to do so, I would definitely read that just to see what happens.
Does anyone else have any other questions that we can ask? Is there anything you're wanting to ask anyone, Ezra?
For without any spoilers. So for those who have read it, I wonder what your favorite characters are, just out of interest. It's weird having so many different characters with different motivations. One of the ways I kind of build the characters, they come from my own emotions. So I'm not actually in this novel, but a piece of me might be. So for instance, it might be, I don't know, diligence, or maybe I'm not an aggressive person, but maybe aggression. You just turn that up to 11 and there's your character. Obviously you put motivations behind that as well, but maybe it's other people in your life that you've met, and some of the characters definitely have those motivations and personality traits as well.
Yeah. Lisa's saying, do you have a time scale for book 2? I think it was 2026, you said?
It is, yeah. The cycle is essentially, what I'm going to try and do is write a book from start to finish in 3 years. But the first draft that I'll write in the first year will align with the launch time for the previous book. So it should look to everyone at home like 2 years between each book. So that's the strategy. But yeah, so from now, about 2 years.
Okay. Are you going to, was it self-published?
It was, yeah.
Are you going to continue being self-published if that's the way it's going to go, or are you hoping that it's going to be taken away from self-published? Or
so the only thing that I lament about the whole writing and publishing process is the marketing. Now, if you go to a traditional publishing house, you still need to do marketing, so they're not actually taking off me anything that would benefit me in the long run. And I feel like, I don't know, it feels a bit more yours if you've got your own publishing house, mine being Virulent Press. It's all yours. No one has any, sales targets for you. No one's going to tell you, oh, we're not going to do book 2 because book 1 didn't sell very well. You get your own control over the process. And I prefer that. I'm not saying traditional publishing is bad. It's just probably not for me, because me, who's going to be like, oh yeah, I'll have another novel in 2 years' time, and I want illustrations in it. Like, one of the things that got me was when I was looking into this for the first time, is they can change the name of the book. They can change the cover of the book. I'm just like, yeah, oh, that's too much control.
Oh, wow.
I don't want to. When it is literally your child, essentially, at that point. You don't want someone else to dictate what it looks like, what its name is, essentially. But
exactly.
It's like, for better or for worse, you get all the control, and I prefer that at this point. So maybe in the future I'll change my mind, but at this point, no, I'm gonna stick with self-publishing.
I'm just asking because you see a lot nowadays when books blow up that are self-published. A lot of publishers are starting to take them under their wing, because obviously they're seeing self-publishers making so much money, and in their head they're like, oh, brilliant, we'll just take you under our wing and take them.
But yeah, I don't see anyone picking this up. And maybe that's just my own, negative impressions upon my mind, feeling like, But yeah, at the moment, I prefer the control having your own little press to release all your novels. And because it took so long to actually set up in the first place, most of the delays for this novel, I say delays, the time scale between actually finishing the book and releasing it was just the setup of like getting the ISBNs, getting all the logos for the publishing house and setting up the company, essentially giving it its own PO box, etc.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't really want that to go to waste.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So how long did that process take then? Just that self-publishing side of it, rather than not taking into account writing the book and things, but how long did your process kind of take?
If I was focused on it, I probably could have clocked it in, I don't know, maybe 1 to 2 months. But because I was like protracted, I didn't really know what I was doing, had to research a lot of stuff. Maybe it took me like 6 to 9 months
Okay.
to actually do that. But obviously, this is because you have other interests, you have other responsibilities that kind of pull you away. And I'd already decided on the date of February the 24th,
Okay.
about 18 months before it was released. So I had like a long window to actually sort myself out before the novel actually came into to fruition. So yeah, it should be a lot faster, to be fair, but I enjoyed the amount of time that I gave myself to sort
Yeah,
some stuff out, so I didn't feel rushed.
that's good.
And it gives obviously the artist to get some time as well to do the illustrations, so I can put them in the book for launch as well.
Yeah. Perfect. Everyone seems to be Team Spade.
Yeah, I'm glad everyone likes Spade, to be honest. It's definitely one of my favorite characters.
Just so mischievous.
Yeah,
I
she
don't want to give too much away, but
yeah. I think she's probably the most I don't like comic relief characters. But she is probably the most light-hearted, shall we say, in the story. But she definitely turns up to situations when she needs to.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions you would like to ask, or anyone else like to ask any questions?
I think I'm good for now. I don't want to ask what people want from the second one. I don't want you to influence my decisions already.
Well, I know what novella I would like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, maybe one day you'll get Knox in the care home and Spade as a chef, but
maybe after the 5 books are written, I'll happily wait that long.
yeah, I'll put it in the pipeline. Just put a pin in it.
Just hold off a little bit just in case anyone's typing. This is always a little awkward bit when you're just kind of waiting to see if
That's fine.
anyone's
It's
up.
the perks of being live, isn't it?
Yeah. How many times have you read the book since it's been published? Like,
since it's been put, as in
you've had it physically in your hands like this.
I mean, it's difficult to say because sometimes I never really read it all the way from start to finish. But
Okay.
you'll obviously read like different sections of it that you need to go back on and just check them all. I actually couldn't tell you. I don't know, but I'm quite familiar with the story. But
Yeah.
I still enjoy it when I read it, especially when I read it like for the purpose of actual enjoyment. I still enjoy the book, but it's weird because I'll get to parts in the book where I think, oh, I remember writing that bit, or it's like, I wonder if I could have done that better. And no one else gets this because because it's like what do you call it? The artist is like always the worst critic, essentially, because you can see all the flaws in your design. But as long as people enjoy it, that's great, essentially. But
yeah. Where are all the places we can get a hold of the book? I know Amazon. I believe Waterstones as well. I think I've seen it on.
They apparently, yeah. when I was at the book launch, one of my friends was like, "Oh, your book's in Waterstones." I was like, "No, it isn't." It is literally online on Waterstones, so you can get it from Waterstones. The Great British Bookshop is where it's actually printed, so you can get it from there as well. And it's the company that I'm using does allow for global distribution. So through the Great British Bookshop, they will send it to other places. So hopefully you can get it from a good few places. But Amazon for the Kindle version or the ebook, then the Great British Bookshop for the physical, or Waterstones if you feel so inclined. Yeah.
That must have been such a shock to you. Like, I haven't put it to Waterstones.
Yeah, it was a bit strange, but yeah, it's wild. I'm glad it's I'm glad it's there and available for other people to read. And hopefully, I'm looking forward to the point where I can, obviously, because I'm quite new to this, build on what I've got. So the craft of writing, making it a bit more, I don't know, honing the craft, I suppose, sharpening my skills. It's going to be a process. It's not necessarily like a one and done process. Oh, this is the book and here it is. It's like you have an opportunity to improve with all the feedback you get. So yeah. So if you do read the book, feel free to leave a review. Tell me what you liked and what you hated about it, and I'll take your feedback on board.
Well, I'm going to ask one last question because I think everyone in the comments is done with the questions, but this is just a fun question. If you see your book in Waterstones, are you going to be one of those people that take it off the shelf and sign it?
I didn't even know people did this.
People do that.
I mean, probably not now, because like one of the staff might see me and think, "What are you doing?" if I say I wrote this, I suppose I could go to the back page and show them my face. But yeah, I might ask the staff, "As like, do you want me to sign this?" But yeah.
Well, there's authors out there that actually sneak into like bookshops, hide the book and sign it and put it back on and don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
It's like a fun game that seems to be going on in the world. So I just wondered if it was something that you would.
I mean, I haven't even thought about that, to be honest. But yeah, if it was available to do, I wouldn't mind signing it. But you're assuming that I'm actually walking around with a pen, which is rare when you go into a bookstore. So yeah. If people want it signed, then yeah, sure, I'll put some ink on it. But
if you've got a pen,
yeah, I have to ask the staff. I was like, "Can I just sign this book here because my name's on it?"
Look, this is my face on the book. I borrow a pen.
Wow.
But I think, well, like I used to work in Waterstones like years ago, and we would have authors come in and they'd be like, "Oh, do you mind if I just sign a couple of copies of the book?" And they would just sign them and then put them back on the shelf. So
Yeah.
I think it is quite
Common.
Yeah, I think you can just do that. I mean, at the end of the day, who doesn't love picking up a book and finding out it's signed? Like, it's great.
It's true, to be fair. I mean, like with Magic cards, I'm guessing like if I just randomly opened a pack and it was like signed by Magali Villeneuve, I would be quite amazed. So yeah, I guess yeah. On the same flip side of the coin, yeah, if someone had signed the book already, you hadn't even noticed, it would be quite nice. Yeah,
It'd be pretty cool.
Maybe I'll add it to the list of possibilities.
Good. Well, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Thank you so much, Ezra, for joining me and us and going through these questions, these weird, wonderful questions.
Thanks for the opportunity.
No, not a problem at all. When book 2 comes round, I'd be really happy to do this again because I will be first in line to get book 2. And I will definitely have read the first one by book 2, 100%.
We hope so. It'll be 2 years at that point.
I'll have hopefully read it more than once by that point. But yes, so I'm going to end the stream here. It goes back to backstage after this, Ezra, so you don't need to hang up, or you can if you don't want to speak to me afterwards.
Yeah, that's fine.
But thank you very much, everyone. Lisa said this was so fun. Thank you for the great interview, guys. If you don't have a copy of this book already, please pick it up. You can get it at Waterstones. You can get it at Amazon. Was it the Great Bookish?
The Great British Bookshop, yeah.
The Great British Bookshop. So I will pop links and stuff down this once the video is up, and just pop links for everywhere you can buy it. Everyone should go and buy it, and everyone should go and read it and leave a review for Ezra. Thank you so much. We will see you all next time. Bye.
Yeah.